ça qui l'attire, j'ai changé de vie, elle a été malheureuse. Elle doit chanter mes hits, je sais qu'elle pense à moi quand elle fait ses bails. Ça sera le dernier titre où je parlerai d'elle, qu'elle prenne ça c'est cadeau. Allez prends ça ouais c'est cadeau.
I want a different boyfriend for each one of my moods. I want a Birkin bag for my wrist, a hula hoop. Gucci, Prada, Balenciaga. Gucci, Prada, Balenciaga. Daddy gave me a choice. Spend the night with a bear or a boy. Tell that boy he'll be sleeping alone tonight. Next time I hold a man down, it'll be underwater. Yeah.
Could have been what's her face? Oh, Lisa Thornberry's little brother. I feel as though my hair is getting shorter in every single video.
It's a life full of hope. It's a life full of joy. No more fear in my corner. I'm already fulfilled.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of A Life Full of Joyce, where I share about love, joy, and freedom until your cup runneth over. Whether it's your first time here or you're a returning viewer, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you won't have to stumble upon me next time. You'll just receive a notification right away. As promised, I'm back with a part 2 on the video of how to reclaim your narrative. We'll be covering 4 more processes to help you take back the pen of life and write the story that you want to tell. As a reminder, this is what it means to reclaim one's narrative. To reclaim a narrative is to take control of the story about oneself, a group, or a community, especially when that story has been inaccurately or negatively shaped by others. So without further ado, let's dive right into process number 1 or 4, which is rupture and repair. Ultimately, this is highly related to compartmentalization.
In the beginning, yeah.
Compartmentalization. Compartmentalization. Now, obviously, there are 2 main reasons why I ended up using rupture and repair rather than that other word. First, because I can't really pronounce that second word. And second, because I didn't want to stay in the fragmented image of the self, but rather I wanted to be able to express that it's important for us to go back in order to form a whole. So what is rupture and repair? Rupture and repair is a fundamental concept from attachment theory describing the disruption and subsequent restoration of connection in any relationship, from parent-child bonds to friendships and therapy. A rupture is a moment of misunderstanding, conflict, or disconnection, while repair involves restoring trust, safety, and emotional attunement through actions like empathy, accountability, apology, and clear communication. So as we can see from this definition, this is something that you can also use when doing therapy. And therefore, in the same way that you would try to foster trust or attunement with another person, you're able to use this in order to foster these things with different parts of yourself. For example, when it comes to me, I used to have a very big issue with anger. Now, you might still catch me being impatient here and there, but I don't think anyone really knows how bad it used to be. At first, I used to just avoid anything that would cause me to get angry. But eventually, I accepted the fact that it's okay to get angry, that anger is not bad, and anger doesn't need to lead to aggression. But how did I get there? Sometimes, in order to learn how to fully embrace something or someone, you need to fully dissociate from it, observe it from an objective point of view, so that you can fully embrace it afterwards. This is something I feel comfortable doing, not only with myself, but also with other people. And I've come to accept that I have many parts of myself and that I'm all of them. Now, if you feel like a lot of the things I am recommending revolve around detachment, you are absolutely right. I am a being of emotions. However, when it comes to using my brain to reason, I don't like mixing. I'm the type of person who will eat my rice on one side, have the sauce or any sides on the other side, and then I mix them together in my spoon, and it will fully come together in my mouth, not any time before. Similarly, when it comes to reasoning, please refrain from excessively emoting. It is okay to emote, but don't let the emotions take the lead. But that's just my 2 cents. We all have aspects of our personalities that we don't necessarily like. And if those things are harmful, by all means, change. However, while going through this change, because you won't change overnight, or if you come to realize that these parts that you don't necessarily like are not harmful, but they bother you because you're coming from a place of self-judgment, then it is good for you to be able to go through that process of rupture and repair. So once you've chosen a part of yourself and you fully ruptured from it, you're now able to observe it from a fully objective point of view without being biased by the strong emotions you already feel coming from the fact that it is a part of you that you're judging. Then from then on, how can you observe it objectively? Well, I'll be using an exercise that I learned from therapy. Yes, I've gone through therapy. I'm 30 years old. If you haven't gone through therapy yet, please do. So the exercise that I'll be using is called Leaves on a Stream. In this exercise, you visualize yourself sitting by a stream of water with leaves passing by. As thoughts begin to pop up inside of your head, you start to take them one by one and you observe them objectively without any judgment. After fully observing the thought, you are to put it on one of the passing leaves and watch it go down the stream. The purpose of this exercise is to help us understand that we are not our thoughts.
Personally, I would go even further and say that we are not even our actions or our personality, because a lot of the things that we do on the daily are reactive rather than responsive.
But that's just my 2 cents. What matters here is applying the steps of this exercise as you go through that process of rupture and repair. After going through that full examination, you would take that part of yourself that you're observing and pin it against the rest of yourself. Is it connected to anything else? How much space does it take in how you view yourself or how you present yourself to others? How much does it impact your daily life? Often when we have an argument with a loved one, it is easy to see the argument as bigger than it actually is, which is why you need to take a step back in order to see the full picture. Similarly, with this part of yourself, it is important for you to come out of focus mode so that you can see this part of yourself, whether it's a personality trait or a habit, for what it actually is. Afterwards, you would hopefully be able to reach a certain level of peace when it comes to this habit or personality trait, etc. From there on, you would be able to decide whether you want to change it or whether you are able to understand it and accept it and learn to live with it. When it comes to me learning how to manage anger, well, anger is not something that you can just delete. Everybody gets angry. However, I was able to decide how I wanted to navigate anger, what were the goals I wanted to set for myself, and how I plan to work towards them, and also accept the fact that I would make some mistakes along the way and probably get more angry than I wanted to in certain occasions. This kind of approach is very helpful when it comes to self-love or self-acceptance and works very well with the deep dive that we were mentioning last time. So, to remind you of the different steps for this rupture and repair, number 1, choose an aspect of yourself. Number 2, fully disconnect from it, rupture, and observe it objectively. Number 3, compare it to the rest of yourself and evaluate its impact. Number 4, make peace with this aspect of yourself and welcome it back inside of you. Number 5, decide how you will navigate your relationship with this part of you and what you will need to do from then on. Process number 2 or 5, the 6 to 9. Now, this one comes from a saying in Lingala, which I will not embarrass myself repeating for the entire world to see, but it goes as, or the 6 became a 9. This is something that we usually say when a less favorable situation becomes more favorable to you. If you remember the excerpt from the video that I inserted last time with Trevor Noah, he was mentioning about how Rather than giving people an eraser test, it would want people to have a pen test or marker test or whatsoever, through which they would be able to choose the meaning they wanted to give to the different things that happened in their life. This is quite similar. Now, this is different from the POV shift because it is not about changing the point of view in order to tell the story from your point of view. Rather, it is about going through the entire story. And from this point of hindsight, now you look back and you get to choose what you're going to say about the story based on what has already happened. It sounds complicated, but let me give you an example. A couple years back, I decided to discontinue my college studies. The reason why I did this is because I didn't really believe in the academic system. However, what I say now is that I discontinued my college studies so that I could go and travel. Now, when I decided to discontinue my studies, this was not the reason why I did so. However, in hindsight, I realized that I got to travel a lot more than I would have been able to had I been in college. Therefore, using the experience that already happened, I now get to change the narrative and say, it's not that I didn't do anything for the past couple years. I discontinued so that I could travel more.
C'est la rentrée, j'ai pas d'alternance, j'ai rien, et j'ai 23 ans. Imagine, à 30 ans, j'ai rien trouvé, je suis foutu.
Donc là, t'as l'impression que je suis foutu? J'ai 30 ans, je suis pas propriétaire, je suis pas marié, j'ai même pas de gosse, et pourtant je suis là, je te paye un café. T'as l'impression que je ressemble à une épave?
Non, en fait, tu comprends pas ce que je veux dire. Il y a quand même des cases à cocher avant 30 ans, tu vois, sinon t'as loupé un coche.
Moi, j'ai rien coché. Pas de case à rien. Tu sais, pour moi, c'est quoi rater? C'est quand tu te réveilles, t'as 35 ans, avec un mec que t'aimes plus, un taf qui t'use, un crédit sur le dos. Mais bon, t'as réussi.
En fait, j'ai l'impression de perdre du temps, mais que je pourrais pas le rattraper.
Mais rattraper quoi? Tu crois qu'il y a une ligne d'arrivée à 30 ans? Tu crois qu'on t'offre une médaille? Franchement, sinon je le saurais. Hein. Moi, aux yeux des gens, j'ai perdu des années en voyage, en galère. Et pourtant, c'est ce qui m'a appris. Hein. Toi, ce que t'appelles perdre du temps, moi, c'est ce que j'appelle vivre en fait.
Ok, un exemple. Imagine, j'arrive à 30 ans, j'ai toujours pas trouvé la bonne personne. Après, c'est trop tard, meuf.
Trop tard? Mais trop tard pourquoi? Tout précipité pour le mauvais mec juste parce que l'horloge tourne. On est en retard sur absolument rien. On est en route. Et parfois, ça prend plus de temps. C'est vrai. Donc arrête avec tes deadlines.
So the 6 to 9 is very simple. First, you choose an instance of your life. Second, you observe what were the different impacts that this instance had on your life. And third, you choose the most advantageous angle in order to retell the story, and you make the 6 become a 9. Process number 3 or 6, the intermission or breaking the fourth wall. I couldn't fully decide which name I wanted to give to this process, so I just went with both. But I think I do prefer breaking the fourth wall. I love when they do that in stories. I just love it. So why did I go for both of those names and what are they trying to represent? Well, for intermission, an intermission is a short break between the parts of a performance, such as a play, movie, or concert. As for breaking the fourth wall, it is when a character in a fictional work acknowledges the audience's presence, directly addressing them and shattering the illusion of a self-contained real world. The fourth wall is the imaginary, invisible barrier that separates the stage or screen from the audience. The device can deliberately remind the audience that they are watching a performance and disrupt the audience's immersion in the illusion of the performance. How does this pertain to us and reclaiming our narrative? Well, this process helps us redirect. Well, this process helps us redirect. Okay, I'm looking it up.
Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
Redirect.
Redirect. Well, first and foremost, this process helps us redirect. This process helps us redirect the flow of events while we are in the moment. As I mentioned earlier, when we are going through life, it's very easy for us to just function on autopilot. And that's because thinking about everything would most likely be overbearing. Just try to remember how you feel when you start thinking about your breathing, about blinking, about how you walk. You suddenly don't know how to do these things anymore. Matter of fact, just try to regulate all of those things all at once. Blinking, breathing, and walking. Exactly. This is why we end up functioning on autopilot. Now, while functioning on autopilot, we are like the characters of a book. We are just moving according to our habits, which is why when we want to change, we're not just trying to change our actions, but we do try to change our habits, because most of the time we will do not necessarily what is best for us, but what is familiar to us, as though we were moved by an author who had already written everything that was to come. This is why breaking the fourth wall is so powerful. It allows you to stop, interrupt the flow of fate, and decide for yourself how you want to orient things and what you want to do going forward. It is important to note that you cannot control the outcome, but you sure can influence it through your choices when it comes to your behavior, your placement, your appearance, etc. For example, still on the topic of anger management, I remember recently receiving a text message I wasn't pleased with. And as I was ready to go, I paused, I took a deep breath, and I decided to write a different message. In the past, I used to be someone who would pride myself in answering messages very quickly. But now I can deliberately take 2 hours to answer a message just to ensure that I'm not reactive, but that I'm truly responsive in that moment. And this is the power of breaking the fourth wall. So the steps to do this are very simple. Step number 1, while in the moment, pause and take a deep breath. Step number 2, quickly think about what is happening and what you are about to do. Step number 3, choose your plan of action. Step number 4, resume. Now, this process is meant to happen very quickly in the moment. I'll insert something like a timeline in order to see when you're supposed to use each of those different processes, whether before, during, or after the moment that you're observing or analyzing. Unlike the deep dive, when it comes to breaking the fourth wall, it is a quick redirection. You could potentially opt to go for the deep dive instead of breaking the fourth wall. However, you would need to communicate that to the other person.
I think I need a moment right now. I'll get back to you on this later.
As a general rule of thumb, if somebody really wants to understand you, they will not force you to just say whatever in the moment and will allow you to have even a couple minutes to fully reassess how you're feeling and what you're thinking. Ah, Seigneur. Now for the last process, which is process number 4 or number 7. I want to go with number 7 because I like number 7. This one is called the simulation. It was not going to be a process at all, but I use this so often, it would have been a blasphemy if I didn't mention it. On a random Friday afternoon, you could possibly walk into my room and find me talking to myself while recording it. Awkward, you would leave my room and I might act like I didn't see you there. Now, you might try to come back a couple minutes later, hoping that this time I would give you time of day, and you might find me still saying sensibly the same thing while still recording myself. What you would have witnessed in that moment is me simulating. A simulation is the act of imitating the behavior of some situation or some process by means of something suitably analogous, especially for the purpose of study or personal training. One might perform a simulation as practice for real life, such as a flight simulation that's used to train pilots. A fire drill is also an example of a simulation. It reenacts the real-world scenario of a fire in a building or an environment with the purpose of teaching appropriate actions in the event a real fire is encountered. Now, the benefits of simulating, or whatever other term that people might be using for this, that I have noticed for myself: better self-regulation, better preparation for different events, and also an opportunity to learn about yourself and to just challenge yourself. You can even use simulating in order to gain closure. As you would know, often you don't get to have the conversations that you want. And even when you do, they don't always go the way you would want them to go, and they don't always end the way you want them to go. Matter of fact, very often when we have conversations with people, we end up feeling very regretful because
I didn't say this, and I wish I would have said that, and I wish I wouldn't have said that.
And I also fall victim to this. However, simulating has helped me to come fully prepared to a conversation and to not use people as my training ground. Have you ever heard of the first recorded 4-minute mile? In 1954, a man called Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile through a combination of meticulous scientific training, including building a treadmill and testing lactic acid levels, and powerful mental conditioning, such as visualizing the feat and developing strong self-belief despite conventional wisdom suggesting it was impossible. In other words, visualizing the feat before it happened, among other things, helped him get the result he wanted. And this is also true with us. In the world where people react instead of respond, where people are stuck in the matrix of life and function on autopilot, being the one person who's able to stop, take a breath, and think about what you're about to do is a superpower. In a world where people do not know themselves or are reluctant to look inside, being someone who is able to know yourself, understand yourself, and accept yourself is a superpower. In a world where everyone is encouraged to consume endlessly, being someone who is able to produce something, even if no one is watching, is a superpower. This is why simulation is so powerful, because it's not about overthinking. It's about self-regulating. It's about learning about yourself and expanding your view of the world. On the topic of expanding our view of the world, a lot of the things that I'm saying right now probably have been said by other people. However, someone somewhere needed to hear it from me with this voice, in this tone, with this accent. Even if someone already said it somewhere in the world, that's okay. Because fortunately for me, I don't live in the world. I live in my world. And unless I've heard about it, unless it has entered my world, it might as well not exist. Think about it. Let's say every day my lips are dry, and every day I'm just thinking, oh, if only there could be a product that I could put on my lips so that my lips could be hydrated. And then one day I decide to use some grease or oil to oil my lips. In my conception of the world, I have now invented lip balm. And yes, someone somewhere already did it. That's okay. To me, and to the people who hear about it from me first, I have invented this. Recently, I was so very sad because I actually sleep like a well, I've been compared to many things, to Sleeping Beauty or a vampire. It depends. I'm fine with both. I wanted to invent a pillow that would help you sleep like a Sleeping Beauty, and I wanted to call it the Beauty Sleep Pillow. How shocked I was to see that somebody already thought about it. It wasn't the same type of pillow, but somebody already took the name. But it doesn't matter. I'm still waiting for my rich husband who is going to finance all of my beautiful dreams so that we can go and invent another beauty sleep pillow. Now, I do want to make a special warning here. This is not to be confused with people who actively go around stealing and appropriating people's ideas and cultures. I said what I said. So the steps for simulation are real simple.
The steps of being this cute are real simple.
Step number 1, pick a fear, an unresolved event, or something of the like. Step number 2, imagine yourself facing the situation or issue or having the conversation. Imagine different scenarios to the best of your abilities. Feel free to even dive into the unlikely to test your own limits. And step 3 is optional. Engage with the situation in real life with a newfound confidence. As mentioned, the last step is optional because the purpose of simulation is not only preparation, it is also self-regulation as well as self-discovery. This is all for today's video, and it is all for this topic for now. But if you have been doing other things in order to reclaim your own narrative, do not hesitate to share it in the comments below. Now, I'm the type who likes to try everything at least once so that I always have an idea of how things work. Now that I got to try how making videos work, I did want to try this app called... Is that advertisement? Is that free advertisement? I don't do free advertisement though. Anyways, I want to try an app that will help me with editing. So until I get this rich husband... If you want to also sponsor the Joy, there will be a link down below, and there will also be a link to all of my socials. However, I don't know if I'm going to put it in the comments, in the description box, on my YouTube page. You'll find it. It will be right there. It will be somewhere. There. But yeah, you'll get to find the link to my TikTok and my IG. I'm still figuring things out there, but you don't want to miss it. Promise you don't want to miss it. See you there. Until then, whether you're still breaking free from the matrix, or whether you're already my neighbor on the Lulu is the Salulu Boulevard, remember, nevertheless, it is a life full of joy.
It's a life full of hope. It's a life full of joy.
This video is so short.
In my corner, I'm already fulfilled.
Like this hair.